Hello, and welcome to Let's Talk, a new series of candid conversations covering the issues facing freelance professionals today. I'm Tom Rizzo, your host, Managing Director and founder of Plectrum Advisors, an investment advisory firm based in Los Angeles. On each episode of Let's Talk, I'll be speaking with some of the most plugged-in experts to help you and me make sense of today's changing environment and to help you be smarter about how to approach work and life. So let's get started. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk. I'm really excited about our guest today. Today we have Roxanne Castillo. Roxanne is the General Counsel for the Film Musicians Secondary Markets Fund, and she's also on the Board of Directors of the California Copyright Conference, also known as the CCC. The California Copyright Conference is a professional trade organization dedicated to the education of its members in the practical and legal aspects of copyright law and how that law affects the music business and the entertainment business in general. I'm really looking forward to speaking with Roxanne today about what this organization is all about and how it might benefit you, our listeners. So thank you for being here today, Roxanne. It's a pleasure to chat with you, and welcome.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm excited to talk to you.
You are the General Counsel for Film Musicians Secondary Markets Fund, is that correct?
I am. I'm a lawyer.
Okay, you're an attorney. Okay, good. We need you. And we need people who are as sharp and as bright about how this business works as you are. So we appreciate you being in this position.
Thank you. Thank you.
And you are also on the board of directors of the California Copyright Conference. I must admit that before I met you, I was not really aware of what this organization is or what it does. And I would imagine that many of our listeners are kind of in the same boat. Mm-hmm. And I'm hoping that this interview here can help shed some light on what this organization is and how it might benefit our listeners. So if you could just start by telling us a little bit about the origins of this organization and what it does, we could just start with that.
Sure, thanks. That's something that I found that actually a lot of people don't know what the CCC is, which was the same case for me. I had been invited to speak on a panel with the Guild of Music Supervisors on how to handle music licensing for songs that are recorded under a union agreement. At the time, I was working at the AFM Local 47. And that's how I met the president at the time, David Kwan of the CCC. And that relationship just sort of developed over time, a mentorship. And I kind of got brought into the fold, mostly because artists' rights are incredibly important to me. And I think there is nothing better that an artist can do than educate themselves on the business side of things. We depend on your creativity to evolve culture and start conversations and entertain us and do so much. Art is so incredibly important to society, but artists can be so easily taken advantage of because they often don't know the business aspects. So the CCC, which was founded in the 50s, attempts to bridge that gap in the music industry and offer resources, talks, webinars, in-person events, other resources available on the website so that musicians and others in the music industry can really educate themselves on what's the difference between royalties and residuals? Where does my money come from? Who controls my IP? What is an NFT? What are the different ways I can monetize my music? So that's why it's so important. That's why I'm on the board. And I'm really excited to talk about some of that stuff and make it all available for your listeners.
This is a business that is constantly changing, going back from the days of, when television first came in, and then when videotapes came in and audio cassettes came in, and then with the advent of peer-to-peer sharing and how that disrupted the business. And then in the current day, what streaming is doing and how that's affecting income streams and pursuing work and contracts and that kind of thing. So I would imagine that most people who are content creators are, it's almost a full-time job just to keep up with the current changes in how things are working. Can you tell me a little bit about what the CCC would do, like on a specific level, like if we had somebody who was a composer, either working for hire or a song creator or a music creator that may be working with a music supervisor to try to get things placed. What resources might the CCC have for some people like that?
So first and foremost, the biggest resource that we have is an incredibly large library of webinars, a ton of videos with panels of people that are all in the trenches on this stuff that can explain it on a very detailed personal level. What does this all mean and how do I learn it myself? Instead of reading a book, or in addition to a podcast, you can check out our webinars and learn more about each of these things that then will trigger other questions for your own research. And I think it's so important for everyone to just take the time to educate themselves, right? That's part of what your podcast offers. But the other benefit is that as a member, you have access to all of our other members, as well as our board members. Our board is made up of people that serve at every major studio and network, music publishing company, record labels. Our members are Grammy award-winning musicians to executives at some of the biggest names that you can think of, lawyers. There is so much collective knowledge and help available. It's really about partially networking and having access to certain people, and also just, if you know one of us, ask the question, hey, I have a question about this issue. I'm wondering how to negotiate this license. I've never done it before. Do you have any suggestions or know anyone that you can put me in touch with? I will absolutely send you to the right person to help you figure that out.
It's such a benefit. I remember early in my career when I was first starting writing for television, I didn't even know, first of all, didn't know the questions to ask, first of all, and secondly, who do I talk to this about? You know, the people I'm negotiating with, they were no help, of course, right? So this sounds like something I wished I had known about this organization earlier. I think it would have been very beneficial to me in my career, and I would imagine many of our listeners, this could be a very valuable resource for them. So talk to me a little bit about how it works. Is there how do you avail yourself of these resources? Is there membership, or how does it work?
Well, basically you just stop by our website. It's theccc.org. And you join up. It's $55 for an individual membership. It's 12 months from the date that you start off. And at that point, you can sign up for any webinar. You can access the library. You can access resource pages. I would strongly suggest attending our in-person events. We have those about every other month, and they're kind of cool. We have one coming up on the 25th of this month, April, where we're doing a one-on-one interview with Richie Ramone. So, I mean, that's a lot of music history and insight. We have opportunities to just sort of hang out and talk about music and the business and share each other's art. We have little showcases where our members perform. Some are Grammy nominated, and that's a private performance. It's really just us having fun and being with our community and being able to talk to each other about the things that we're always kind of wondering about and can't really talk to our friends and family about that aren't also in the same industry, right?
The nature of content creation is that it's a pretty solitary task, right? I mean, it's not it could be collaborative, I guess. There might be one or two other people you might be collaborating with, but in general, it's very different than playing in an orchestra, for instance, where there's 100 other people around you, or in a studio musician situation where there's a lot of people that you're talking to and sharing information and hearing about what's going on and that kind of thing. As a content creator, you're sitting in a room with no windows usually,
Yeah.
making stuff,
Yeah.
and you may or may not be really up on everything that's going on and resources that are available to you. So, so this sounds like a really wonderful, if nothing else, just a way to meet other people that are doing what you're doing and hearing what their issues are, and maybe learning from them. On the live events that you have, I assume, are these listed on the website on what they are and what the topics are and who's going to be there?
Yeah, so there's a link at the top that says events, and you can click on that and it'll list out at least the next few events that we're having. So tomorrow we're doing a webinar on TikTok and understanding how that impacts your music, the use, any infringement issues that might come up, how to monetize your music better, making sound clips specifically for TikTok. I mean, social media has really changed a lot of how we consume. Obviously, that's not something I need to go into. It's been talked to death already. But there are still a lot of people who don't really know how to avail themselves of it. How do I really monetize this? And it's really important for me as a newer board member to start opening up the CCC to other areas of content creation. They've been focused on music for a very long time, and I adore the music industry. It is my bread and butter, and it has my heart and soul. But it's so important that we also make sure we're creating space for writers, for filmmakers, for photographers, for everybody else. I just read a script for a friend, and he had so many questions about copyright. What is script coverage? Why do I need a manager? These are all things that we should be making available to all different types of content creators. So I think that doing this TikTok panel is the first step in the right direction of opening up into other platforms and other types of content.
It's really a spectacular resource here. Because to try to do this on your own, it's just too time consuming.
It's too much. So many people come here to LA to make it, and they come here alone. And so I think the first thing is finding your community. And the second thing is finding the resources and finding those people who will help champion you, not just mentor you, right? The ones who want to help you make it.
In some of the materials you sent over prior to this call, you mentioned that you also have some scholarship and mentorship aspects to the organization. Can you speak about that a little bit?
Yeah, we do. I love the scholarship program. So we set aside a nice little chunk of money every year for a few applicants. And what it is that if you are a full-time student at an accredited music school who is looking for or accomplishing a degree in some aspect of the music industry, we want you to apply. Everything is so expensive right now, or not right now, it's been for a while now. So I think any little bit helps. We're trying to get the word out about that scholarship program because it is really valuable. We work hard to raise the funds for that, and we want students to apply. We want more schools to be aware of it. So if you know anyone who is in that situation and they need a little bit of a boost, please send them our way. We would love to get their application in and see how we can help them out. And then the mentorship program has been kind of a start and stop before I joined the board. I'm currently working on creating a new structure for it. But basically what we're doing is we're going to be testing out sort of in its beta stage, right? Where we assign a board member to a student applicant, and we have a set number of times that they meet throughout the course of a year, because we want to understand what the student wants to accomplish, but also to give students the space to ask the questions that they might think are dumb questions at school, or that they might not want to ask at an internship. What do you want to know about the industry? I will tell you everything. I will share all of my knowledge and experience to give you better footing when you get in.
I spend a little bit of time at some local colleges going in and talking about finance, for one, and going in and talking as a guitarist, going in and talking about music. And we find that especially people, and these are high-level schools, these are very talented students, that they are completely not educated about the mechanics of the business. And it's rather shocking, the level of naivety in terms of how this works, because it's going to work a lot differently than it does in the classroom, right?
Incredibly so. Same thing goes for law school. You know, you learn all the theory, you don't learn the practical aspects. It's once you get thrown into the fire. And so I've spent all this time at different studios and networks, the unions, everywhere, learning and figuring things out on my own. So now let's share that stuff. Let's get it out there.
Yeah. I wished I had known about this when I was trying to make my way. It certainly would have been very beneficial, or at least even just given me the proper questions to ask. I think that, you know, I was probably like so many people, I was just so focused on the task at hand, which is, you know, creating good music, or surviving with whoever it was I was working with, making sure that they were feeling good about what I was doing. But all of these other aspects really had, I really didn't understand how it worked. So
it would have been nice to have it then, but you know, we've got it now, and maybe I think in the future we can definitely work together on this mentorship program. I'm excited to see how everyone listening to this podcast responds. And you know, if you ever see me at an event, please come up and say hi. I would love to meet everybody.
This is great, Roxanne. I think it's hopefully going to be enlightening to people that this resource exists out there. So once again, you said the membership is fairly inexpensive, right? You say it's $55 per year?
$55 for the whole year, and you get access to a ton of stuff. The webinars, I think, are free at that point. Our in-person events, there is a discounted ticket cost, but it's because we serve food and, you know, some booze, and we have live performances. We got to pay for the event space. So, but all of the money goes directly to the scholarship fund.
Here's the website and the other information of how to contact. And if people have questions about how this might work.
Yeah, there's a contact us page, and we have a lovely manager, Liz, who handles all the incoming inquiries from new potential members. If there's a board member that you know, you can reach out directly to them. Feel free to add me on LinkedIn. You guys can make my information available to your listeners. I'm always happy to answer questions about the CCC and point people in the right direction.
With your permission, we'll put your LinkedIn information here so that they can reach out to you. And thank you for taking the time today to educate us about this fabulous resource. And we encourage all of our listeners to at least take a look. You know, go to the website for CCC, take a look at what it is, ask your question, and it really looks like it's something that could be a real resource for so many of our listeners. So thanks, Roxanne. We really appreciate you taking the time today, and I hope our listeners will reach out to you. And I look forward to talking to you again in the near future. Maybe we'll schedule a session to talk about what's going on at the Film Musicians Secondary Markets Fund. And that's certainly timely, as the distribution, the July 1st distribution, is coming up. So, and so many of our listeners are participants there. So let's schedule something else, and the next time we'll talk, we'll focus on that end.
Sounds like a plan to me. Thanks so much for the conversation. I really enjoyed it.
Thanks, Roxanne. We appreciate it. And thank you, listeners, for taking the time to listen to this. Once again, here's the information for the California Copyright Conference up on the screen. This video podcast will be archived also on our website, so that if you need to review it or get the information again, you'll be able to do that by going to plectrumadvisors.com. And thanks again, Roxanne, and we look forward to our next chat.
Thank you.
Well, that's it for today's broadcast with Roxanne Castillo of the California Copyright Conference. Thanks again for watching. We hope you'll come back for more. We've got some great guests lined up, and we'll be sure to let you know when they're available. Thanks again.